Peace, family. Vicki Dillard here for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to give us a big thumbs up, and share the broadcast. Thank you so very much, beloved family. We are in, and I know you all say, Vicki, you say this all the time, but it is so true. We are in our finest hour. We are in such fascinating times where the changing of the guards have shifted. Beloved, tag, you're it. We're going to be the new world rulers, and the powers that shouldn't be the current rulers of the world know it because they're freaked out because they see the handwriting on the wall that their time to rule over us in such an oppressive way is swiftly coming to an end. Family, now you all must know that the United States has constantly ignored the continent of Africa. After being urged and cajoled and manipulated to try to engage with the continent, the United States at the very last minute is actually trying to substantively engage on the continent of Africa. But the question I have is it because America truly chooses to develop the continent or and get itself involved in a way that's of benefit and that's desirous of Africans? That's got to be the first question. It can never be you first. It's got to be what benefit, what quid pro quo is going to take place here that's going to certainly benefit the continent. Now, I've got to say, as a side note, I recently did a piece talking about AGOA, and as a recent piece, but I also talked about it months ago, specifically regarding Uganda and President Museveni, when he got word that the United States or some of the businesses were going to try to cut off his country from the AGOA trade program because they don't like their LGBTQ law. We're seeing now where AGOA is cutting off other African countries as well, like Niger, Gabon, and others, because of some, in my opinion, frivolous reasons that the United States states. But for the most part, it has to do with the agenda. So if the United States can't be a social imperialist, she gets upset and imposes economic sanctions through projects that she claims she started to bless you and your people. She turns around and weaponizes those very projects. Well, beloved, America has ignored Africa. Well, because other countries can see benefits and are willing to invest on the continent. Now America, in her economic war with China and Russia, is acting like she has lost her mind. Now, I don't know if you all are familiar with the Belt and Road Initiative. Many of you probably very likely are, which is an initiative that was unveiled by the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, known as the CCP, in about 2013. Now, this has to do with infrastructure through multiple countries. They recently had an event. They had some setbacks due to a number of reasons, but mostly during the pandemic, there was a major setback. So now China is recalibrating things, making some adjustments, and wants its countries that are involved, which I think is well over 100 and some odd countries, or its delegates or representatives that showed up during their last recent convening, wants them to know that their Belt and Road Initiative is in full force. And I think there's going to be more or less an emphasis not only on infrastructure, but also some digital and technical things, I believe. But nevertheless, the United States has lost its mind, and so has our Western partners. What do I mean? The United States and the EU are panicking. They're absolutely alarmed, and out of desperation, recently announced a $1 billion investment that they plan to make for an African rail link. Listen to this. Just recently announced. The U.S. is racing to develop a new rail line linking a key source of critical minerals in Central Africa with a port on the continent's Atlantic coast, aiming to establish a trade route for materials used to produce electric vehicles. The so-called Libido Corridor project, which involves laying hundreds of miles of track from Zambia's Copperbelt province to an existing line in neighboring Angola also serves as a flagship of the Biden administration's efforts to take on China. Now, this piece admits what she's doing. This piece admits she's racing. This piece admits that this is a fight with China, which lets you know, America, your motives are suspect in this case, because it ought to be because you're trying to be of benefit to Africa. It goes on to talk about the metals, including copper and cobalt, are crucial to EVs, and the batteries and that power them will be among the main cargo. It goes on to say some other things about how Beijing has dominated infrastructure investment in Africa. It says for the past 2 decades, and now the U.S. is trying to catch up. That competition is playing out as concerns grow about access to raw materials, and will power the energy transition. This is another reason why I can so appreciate such actions of our brothers who, of course, the world calls them coups, but who have engaged in revolutions to remove the bloodsuckers out of their country so that they can benefit, because they are panicking. And the thing is, they're panicking without even talking to our brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa about their thoughts about things. They're just basically coming there, letting you know, oh, I know we can put this $1 billion investment over there because we need to fight with China to make sure that we're going to always have access to you all's resources. I hope our brothers and sisters are paying attention, and that you're going to charge very, 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 very high prices to ensure your people first and foremost benefit, and that these countries are not coming there to build more bases so they can turn around and be the police. And if you don't give them the prices that they desire or the access they desire, they turn around and put their weapons to your proverbial political heads. Talk black to me. They're saying these things out loud as if this is how statesmen and women should behave and be motivated by. Do y'all understand? While we as the original people must rule again, because we rule by justice and harmony and for the good of everybody involved. And if you're going to take from the land, the people that should disproportionately benefit are those that are on the land first and foremost, not because America, you want to expand your war with China and Russia and want to ensure that you diminish the rise of the so-called global South, which Africa is certainly leading and a major part. My name is Vicki Dillard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to share this broadcast, family, and be sure to check out my website at VickiPlanet.com for my services and products. I can't wait to see you again.